Now, during the Easter holiday period, drivers under the influence of alcohol will receive harsher treatment from law enforcement authorities. The Department of Transport says it's testing a new strategy to combat drunk driving. But how will the new plans work? And what are the liquor traders doing to play their part? For more, let's speak to Lucky Ntimane from the National Liquor Traders Association. Lucky, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it. It would be one who's very pessimistic, who would ultimately think to themselves that according to RTMC, there was a 30% rise in alcohol-related accidents in the past festive season. You'd be extremely optimistic to think that those numbers could essentially get any better. Where is the problem lying, do you think? Is it just in those that are consuming? Is it those that are selling? Ultimately, is it also just law enforcement?
In the spirit of the festive season, we would like to wish the Newzroom Afrika viewers at home a happy Easter and a great long weekend. But also would like to commend the work done by the Minister of Transport, Honorable Minister Barbara Creecy, as well as the Road Traffic Management Corporation, of which we have a working relationship, for the collaborative effort in which they have brought the alcohol industry into the table to seek solutions that will want to address, the issues of road safety in South Africa, more specifically as it relates to our industry, the issue of drink and driving. Yes, we are playing our part, understanding that alcohol form a basis of a lot of excitement around this period across our country, but also understanding that we ought to take responsibility for where we have at as an industry. But also, we need to highlight that the issue of road safety must not only be placed at the doorstep of the alcohol industry. I think it is something that the community at large and society should play its part. So if you look at, we've been talking about drink and driving, but if you look at the statistics by the Road Traffic Management Corporation of 2023, it tells us that 45% of those that die on the road during this festive period are actually pedestrians. And the passengers account for about 26%, and the drivers account for about 25%, and the cyclists for about just under 2%. So it means that we have a much bigger problem beyond just drink and drive that we need to address as a country. But also we need to understand the dynamics and the nuances that lend themselves to these incidents that we encounter. That between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m., that's where we experience about 17% of the road carnage that we find in our country. So because we are armed with the statistics and knowledge, we can then work together with law enforcement in addressing these issues across our country. And we'd like to send our heartfelt condolences to the families that have lost their loved ones in this period. We are also saying, to those that, are making plans to travel, to those that are making plans to consume alcohol, that we need to do so in a responsible manner so that we protect our loved ones, protect those that are around us. It is very important that this becomes a season to be merry and not a season to bury.
Lucky, so how do we fix it then? What are the solutions here? Because as the national liquor traders, you speak primarily for those liquor traders themselves. What can they do at this point to ensure that we have less carnage on the roads?
I think our role is very limited, because if you come into our establishment, you buy alcohol, you sit, you consume, and then you go home. We can only do as much as to encourage, especially given the fact that 90% of the patrons that drink at a tavern are known to the outlet owner. So at any given time, the outlet owner will know that there is a reasonable apprehension that one patron that will be consuming alcohol is going to be on the road. And we can have those discussions because we know our customers. But then what about those that buy at bottle stores and are going to get at the back behind the steering wheel? So we are saying this is not only something that should be addressed and resolved by the alcohol industry or RTMC or even the Department of Transport. It requires society and community to come together. We know of an uncle, we know of a cousin who's going to consume and get behind the wheel. What are we doing about it? So this requires a societal approach. It requires all of us, all hands on deck, to ensure that we address this issue. We cannot have a situation where when it comes to December and Easter period, we talk about burying people, burying our loved ones, and these are majority breadwinners. So the solution lies with all of us. We are saying as the alcohol industry, we are raising our hand, we are playing our part, we are partnering with RTMC and the Department of Transport in ensuring that we discourage those that plan to drink and drive, but also encourage our traders to play a very meaningful role in championing the issue of not drinking and driving in our country.
Okay, so according to the Minister, Barbara Creecy, then, drivers who are under the influence of alcohol this Easter holiday period will get harsher treatment. says the Transport Minister, but details are scant. Do you have any details with regards to what those new or harsher treatment ways will certainly be and what exactly that entails?
I think the minister refers to the current laws that exist in our country, and we are in support of the minister's call that those that are caught drinking and driving should actually face the highest penalties that are applicable in our laws. It can't be that if you look at the statistics that actually the drivers are the ones that get away with these things cost-free, and it can't be that the passengers that are in those cars actually are the ones that end up paying with their lives, and the pedestrians end up paying with their lives. So the drivers ought to be the ones that pay the heavy penalty for being caught drink and drive, so that it can discourage those that are planning to do so. So we will make submissions, when the time comes, as to what we think the penalties should be. But for us, also the issue of having license suspended is something that comes to mind, so that we discourage people from ever thinking of getting behind the wheel of a vehicle if they're under the influence of alcohol.
Lucky, what about liquor laws? Are those too lax? Do you think that there needs to be some sort of revisit to them? How much we sell to people, how much can be consumed at a particular time, the days and the times at which those are consumed, etc.?
I think COVID taught us a lesson that you cannot really manage behavior of people if they want to consume alcohol. At any given time, people will have access to alcohol, whether you place certain laws or not. I think as a country, we have enough liquor laws that safeguard, the interest not only of consumers, but the interest of society at large. So the issue that's required is only enforcement. And we have seen, if you look at the 2023 statistics by RTMC, almost 16,000 roadblocks were conducted, and over 15,000 people were arrested on the scene. So it means that if you put more enforcement on the line, you are then able to get the results that will discourage people, for example, from drink and drive. So we have the right laws. All we need to do is ensure that we push enforcement.
So ultimately, we're putting the blame at the hands then of law enforcement, of SAPS, of traffic officials, of JMPD and the like as well then across the country.
No, I don't think it's putting a blame. I think it's more of highlighting the importance of law enforcement in ensuring that we cap the issue of drink and drive. Like we've said before, we cannot put these squarely at the feet of JPMD or Tshwane Metro Police or whichever Metro Police Department. This is a responsibility for society at large. If we have to think that the police are going to provide a solution for us, I think we have a wrong approach as a country. We ought to be able to manage our own behaviors, but also those that are around us. We know that families now that are celebrating, what's going to happen? People are going to get behind the wheel. Are those people drunk? Have they consumed alcohol? In most likelihood, it will be a yes. So what are we doing if someone leaves our yard, leaves our family home, having consumed alcohol? So we ought to play a part as well. We cannot really put this squarely at the feet of JPMD, for example, that they are at fault. All we are saying is that law enforcement, they're doing a good job, and we're encouraging that they continue to do a good job so that they arrest those that should not be behind the wheel when they've consumed alcohol.
Liquor licensing, should we be revisiting those laws and how exactly those are handed out to liquor traders?
We've been on record as saying that we need to have stringent measures in which we apply when people apply for liquor license, because their responsibility to sell alcohol is a very strong one. Yeah. It should not be taken lightly. So yes, we support any measures that will ensure that those that apply for licenses are put through stringent tests and requirements to ensure that licenses are granted to those that are thoroughly deserving.
Look, there's one thing for sure then, Lucky, that we can't do away with the focus of all of this on people's lives, right? The livelihoods on people staying alive. But at the same time, we have to try and balance that with individual freedoms, with economic impact that this could have on the country as well if we sell less or more alcohol, etc. How do we balance that when we're saying to ourselves that every festive season, the numbers on alcohol-related accidents is on the rise?
I think we also need to state on record that according to statistics by the RTMC, which is referred to the report of 2023, 87% of car accidents in South Africa are caused by driver behavior. So if you extrapolate that, then you get the numbers that relates to alcohol. So not all accidents that happen in South Africa are actually as a result of alcohol. I think we need to be clear on that. And yes, you are correct in terms of balancing the issue of lives and livelihoods. And we're on record as the National Quarters is saying that our traders ought to put the lives of our people ahead of the profits. And we've continued to do that. And we're monitoring the behavior of our traders. And we're proud that our traders have taken heed of this call to ensure that they don't put their profits ahead of the lives of our people. And this is the message that we continue to spread across the country so that we ensure that our role in society is not seen as those of business people, but we are seen as citizens of our country first.
But Lucky, the AA says then that they continue to advocate for a 0% alcohol limit for all drivers, which reinforces the message of no drinking and traveling safe, removes ambiguity. It's zero tolerance ultimately and creates more responsible users on the road. Should that not be a thing, that you cannot get behind the wheel in South Africa if you have any alcohol in your system?
So we work very closely with AA, as part of the collective with the Department of Transport. And we welcome any suggestion or proposal that to ensure that we remove the road carnages that could be linked to alcohol or irresponsible use of alcohol. So yes, as a national contractors, we support the stance taken by AA, because if you're going to consume alcohol, why then will you even want to consider getting behind the wheel? So of course, any suggestion that has been put by AA should actually be considered and implemented as a matter of urgency, because we feel that that will make a difference. We cannot, as national traders, want to push away proposals that are going to save lives and those that are going to ensure that we have safe spaces in our roads in South Africa. So we support anyone who makes a call that will ensure that we remove any ambiguity, but importantly, that will ensure that we reduce the road carnages on our road. It is not necessary.
Yep.
We don't need to be dealing with this every year.
What about a fee, sort of an additional fee? And I know it's one of the most taxed areas within South Africa's fiscus as well, but an additional fee, raising up the prices even further for alcohol, almost making it difficult to attain then in some instance. Does that change the way national liquors then are impacting South Africa as an economy, plus then their impact, of course, on the roads?
I think any proposal to want to tax the alcohol industry more is akin to milking a dying cow. There's nothing that you'll get out of it. In fact, if anything, we're going to redirect those purchases to the illicit market, which has now grown in leaps and bounds to about 20 billion rand a year in South Africa. So you are not solving a problem. If anything, you are creating a problem where now people that are selling alcohol illegally are now growing, and they're even competing now with the legal market. If you look at the illicit and counterfeit alcohol in South Africa currently, if it was a listed company, it will be second only to South African brewers. So we have created a monster. If anything, we need to make sure that we work together to destroy this monster and not perpetuate the behavior that has now given rise to illicit and counterfeit alcohol growing in South Africa.
One thing's for sure, something's got to give, Lucky. Something has to happen here in order to ease the pressures that it's certainly laying on South Africa, the lives that are continuing to be lost every festive season. So we certainly hope that the convention, the working together that you have with all these parties certainly does help. Thank you so much for your time, though, this afternoon. Appreciate it. Have a wonderful Easter as well. Lucky Ntimane, the National Liquor Traders convener there, joining us for that conversation and how we can alleviate the carnage on our roads then, particularly when it comes to alcohol-related accidents.